Good morning, dear friends. Good morning, Unity. It is Sunday, 27 April 2025, and I bring a composite message here that will be possibly entitled Appreciate Life. It could also be a number of other titles, but I've strung together some thoughts, and we're going to do a little finger painting this morning. Finger painting, and you'll hear and see how that's going to evolve. We're still in Easter time, really. It's now about 8 days after the resurrection day, and there are so many thoughts present in the minds of Christians. We, those of the Christian faith, we have lost Pope Francis, a very noble and compassionate being, and his life has great lessons. So this whole time is replete with examples of how to live a little better, how to live a little bit more meaningfully, to get our feet back on the ground spiritually. That's a huge issue these days. So this 8 days now, there was a vision of Jesus. He made an apparition of 11 people. They may nickname this the 11. And this included Thomas, doubting Thomas. So in the book of John, chapter 20, it was said, after he said this, he showed them his hands and his side. Then the disciples rejoiced when they saw the Lord. Jesus said to them again, peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, so I send you. When he had said this, he breathed on them, and he said to them, receive the Holy Spirit. If you forgive the sins of any, they are forgiven them. If you retain the sins of any, they are retained. But Thomas, who was called the twin, one of the 12, was not with them when Jesus came. So the other disciples told him, we have seen the Lord. But he said to them, unless I see the mark of the nails in his hands, and put my finger in the mark of the nails, and my hand in his side, I will not believe. Well, there you have it. There's some doubt in there, naturally. I don't know if I would believe. My feet are on the ground, even though I'm a gullible mystic like all of us others on the online today. But that was something. So Thomas stuck his finger in there, and he felt and saw. He pulled his finger out, and there was probably blood on his finger. There's your finger painting for today, my friends. So Jesus bade Thomas to do something finite, to do something so basic, so as to prove himself to Jesus, to Thomas, that he himself was Jesus. He was there. We can do some basic things to get our feet on the ground. When we're up in the air, we're floundering for the truth. What is the truth anymore? Does anybody know? We can do something very basic too. One of my favorite things to do is to go out into the yard and look at a little patch of ground and notice it's springtime now. Lots of things are happening. See the birth and decay and the rebirth and decay, and see how the earth is rejuvenating itself, even in that little patch. Well, that's happening somewhere all over the globe. And sometimes we have to start at the very beginning of our awareness in this world. We can appreciate the apparent distortion of time by looking at the rhythms in our lives. And this is the coming and the going of life. This is the coming and going of the decay and the rebirth, the regeneration. And these basic observations are going to help us to get our feet on the ground and get a grip again on what the truth really is. We all know there's a lot of stress in the world, in our society particularly. How do we handle it? Sometimes I curse at the TV too. However, that's not going to help anyone. That energy is not going to go beyond my home to correct anything at all. So I look at the very basic ideas about myself. 2 words, myself. So look at the rhythms. The comings and goings of springtime, of course, are there. But I look at my own basic rhythms. What are they? My heart rate. Your heart is probably the shortest rhythm that you have access to. So what is that? Your heart is a muscle that squeezes. You want it to squeeze vigorously, to squeeze the blood through your veins and arteries. And then you want it to relax completely, to refill. And that happens all the time while you're asleep. You don't have to do anything about it. You can have faith that your heart is going to continue to give you that rhythmic squeeze, that life-giving circulation. Another short rhythm, your breath rate. For adults, it's about 6 breaths a minute. And for infants, about 20 breaths per minute. That happens. Your small brain stem is going to keep you breathing at the rate that you need to keep the oxygen and carbon dioxide balance at the right rate. What about other rhythms? You have hunger and satiation. Every couple of hours, you go to the fridge, you pull something out, and it's delicious. Yes, of course. Well, hunger, satiation, another important rhythm. Sleeping and waking. Those are other rhythms. They're fairly short rhythms. We have deaths and births in this world. We have about 2 deaths per second in the world, according to the stats in about 2025, around now, about 2 deaths per second, and about 4.2, maybe 4.2 births per second. There's more births than deaths. I don't like the word death so much. I like the word transition. It's a little bit more real to me. And all of this put together, all of the happenings in the world, there's a rhythm that's fluctuating, the doomsday clock. Right now, around January 28th, it was set at 89 seconds to midnight. And this was a little benchmark to look at to see what the risk is for the vulnerability of the world to man-made technological catastrophes. It's just a figure, though, and it's going to fluctuate like all of the other rhythms fluctuate. So we go to longer rhythms now. What are the longer rhythms in our lives? We have birthdays. We have elections of municipal officials, economic cycles, generations of humans coming and going, human lifespans. You know, in the space of one human lifespan, the equinox precesses. It happens 1/2 of 1 degree earlier, approximately every 70 years. So the zodiac is going backwards. In the time of Jesus, it was a different zodiac at the equinox, a different sign of the zodiac at the equinox. So this is all fluctuating. All of these human and cosmic rhythms are all fluctuating. We have to get our feet back on the ground so we have a little bit more faith in our abilities to control something, anything. What about the really long rhythms? We have galactic movement. This galaxy is moving through the cosmos at about 1.3 million miles an hour. Right now, we're moving in about 4 different directions at once, right? The Earth is spinning, Earth goes around the sun carries us around the universe, the galaxy is moving. One revolution of this galaxy takes around 225 million years. What does that mean to you? Nothing right now. Nothing right now. You know, you're going to see the same pixels, whether it moves that fast or a different speed. It's the same thing happening. However, all this information going around can be a little bit daunting, a little bit perplexing. If you want to see how perplexing it is, just take a look at my granddaughter's face. She's 6 months old now. Look at that face. She's as perplexed as anybody. Of course. Okay, thank you, Lorelei. So I have a little bit of autobiographical stuff to share with all of you. And this is going to be something that touches upon everyone, I'm sure. I've been doing some very meaningful hospice volunteering. I make visits to the homes of people who have about a year or less left in this incarnation. We have companionship visits. I play a little music. I read some poetry, and I'm a companion to some of these people who really need someone. And it's not a big secret. I need them too. I need them too. Recently, one of my patients has passed on. She was 100 years old. And sometimes it feels as though we are helpless to offer some bereavement. We're just doing the best we can. Around this time, also, I feel my own mother's transition. In 1971, she was 48 and she passed on. She had cancer. And we were all young, myself, my sister, younger, and my brother, who was younger than her. We floundered for years. There was no bereavement counseling in those days. It didn't have a name. So we just did all the best we can. But now those things come back to all of us. You have all lost friends, neighbors, relatives who have been important to you. And this is an important idea to bring back, that we have the residual experiences to nourish our minds, to make us feel that we are still in the game. We still have skin in the game, as they say. Well, it came back to me also, if you'll forgive another little autobiographical anecdote here. Monday after Easter Sunday, I was floundering. I had just heard of the loss of my uh, one of my patients, the 100-year-old lady, and I was floundering too. So after my morning class, I taught a chair yoga class on Monday morning, and I was in the lobby of the Vienna Community Center, and there was a lady there who was sort of looking around, and then she was watching. Turned out she was waiting for her ride. She had attended an event there. So we got to chatting a little bit. It turns out that she had lost her husband a few years ago, and she was recovering from some surgery. She'd had recent surgeries, and she was floundering too. And her whole life was in the present. And she described it as a problem. She said, um, part of the problem is that I have no one to take care of me. I had no children. And so what comes next? And then she said that her niece would possibly care for her. There was an open window for her to be invited into the life of one of her nieces. So the door is not closed. There is a door opening. Every time a door closes behind us, there is another door that's going to open in front of us. I believe that Providence, God, the cosmic, never provides a challenge unless there is an equal opportunity for success as for a non-success. I don't believe that there are any failures, because we're always going to learn. We're always going to benefit from the crisis at hand. So there's an open door for her too. So what about me? We probably talked for about a half an hour, this woman and me, and it was a great, great conversation. I was reminded about how that conversation was helpful to me. It was helpful to this person too. And there was my opportunity to put a little goodness in the world. That one conversation was so important. That was the tool for me to get my feet back on the ground, to remember that my giving this little bit of time, giving a person time, can be the most important idea in the world. And that brought me back to the realization that my life has some value. Maybe you have questions too. Everyone does sometimes. But even that one person, that one event, can show you how valuable your time can be. So when we're at a crossroads, we can go back to the very beginning. What is that beginning? Observing those basic rhythms in our lives. I want to invite you to take your pulse for a moment, and take your pulse for about 15 seconds. And then you're going to take that number and you're going to multiply it by 4. to see roughly what the number per minute is, your heart rate per minute. Okay. If you don't want to participate, that's all right too, of course. Your pulse, one convenient one is on your wrist. And if you take your own pulse, you can use any finger. If you take someone else's, don't use your thumb because your thumb has a pulse. So you're going to touch the inside of your wrist at the base of your thumb. You're going to feel where your heart rate is. Now I'm going to let you know when to start counting. That will be the start of 15 seconds. So you're going to count the number of pulses and you're going to be multiplying it by 4. Ready, start. Stop. So if you take that number, you multiply it by 4. Mine was 60. Yours is a different number, most likely. And that's your heart rate. That's one of the shortest rhythms of your body. And that is said to be the way your body keeps track of time. Why is the number important? You want it to be as low as it is in a practical way. You want to get enough walking or some sort of cardio work that will help you to lower your heart rate. A great thing to do also is meditate. You may not need to meditate. I knew some great people here or in my own life. I love them to pieces. They don't meditate. I meditate because I'm needy. You know, as a crazy person, I need to meditate. And that is the way I keep track of stuff, my emotions. I sort of keep them into a reasonable spectrum of understanding. So your heart rate is fluctuating. When you meditate, it's going to go down a little bit. My heart rate has been as low as about 45, 47 per minute during meditation. And then coming out, of course, it will go into different numbers depending on my activities. But your practice of meditation can be a very good way to help monitor stress. It's one of the easiest and cheapest things you can do for your health. And I'm going to do a guided meditation in a short time here. But to go back to why these meditation, or these rhythms rather, why these rhythms are important, is that we want to connect with the divine in some way. Going back to the divine, there is not one path to the divine. The divine has many roads. You know this already. Maybe it's a combination of the paths that will help you to connect with the divine. And once you start to feel the vast rhythms, the rotation of this galaxy compared to the rotation of electrons around the atoms in your body, huge differences. There is an inner mathematics of small things, and there is an outward mathematics of big things. And those two systems of mathematics do not connect at this time. Human minds have not discovered that unified theory of everything. That's one of my passions. In my life, I want to connect with what that theory is going to be. You don't need it. You're still going to be able to digest your food and have your birthdays and all of the goodies that go with your birthday. Those things are going to happen too. However, if you're interested in the big picture, that big picture is going to include an understanding of the unified theory of everything. And it will be connecting the divine mind and your mind, unifying the micro with the macro, you as the microcosm, and the greater universe beyond as the macrocosm. So for the duration of time you have, maybe you'll take up your period of meditation with a little bit more assiduously. Try to feel how all is available to you if you open your understanding to the bigger picture. So that's the crux of what I have to offer today. The idea of getting our feet back on the ground by appreciating the small and the great rhythms in our lives, to appreciate that little patch of ground outside and see that birth and rebirth and decay and back, coming around again and again. So I'd like to have a brief meditation, and maybe we'll have a question and answer or comment period a little bit later. So for meditation, you have your technique. If you want to, this is going to be about 5 minutes or so. And if you want just to have your own technique and disregard my rant here, that would be fine. Naturally, that would be fine. But I'm going to set the mood here. And I'm going to invite you to quietly or audibly for yourself. I invite you, by the way, yes, you're on mute. Good. I invite you to chant the sound Om. And if you don't want to, as of course, that will be fine. We want to remember that Om, the syllable, is said to be the root or the antecedent of the sound of the word Amen. Muslims and Jews have the similar name, similar word, Amen or Amin. It means so be it. So with variations in that pronunciation, all of it is said to have come from Om. Also, Aum, 3 sounds, Aum, Aum. And so maybe you can do this a few times and then get it to go very quietly within your mind. You take it from your throat and you move it up into the mind. So I'm going to give us about 5 minutes. And one objective, if you don't meditate regularly, one objective you can have is simply watching the thoughts come through the mind. You don't have to analyze them. You don't have to understand what they are. You let them flow through. So this is going to be about 5 minutes or so. If you wish to take the video off the screen, you may do so. This is your inward time. And I will be gently calling you back in about 5 minutes' time. So have a great journey. I'll see you on the other side. Okay? We are gently coming back. We allow the meditation technique to go back to the source. We're feeling at rest, feeling at peace. And this is the temporary end of the cycle of our meditation this morning. If you establish a regular rhythm of meditation, you try eventually for about 20 minutes twice a day, and then you will start to feel the benefits. And one of them is that maybe half an hour or 45 minutes after meditating, you may feel that your senses are wider open. You may feel a wave of positive emotion coming through you, more compassion, more tolerance, things like that. This will come after you've been meditating maybe a week or 2 weeks or a month, but persistence and consistency, a positive mental attitude, these things will come very natural. It should feel natural for you to meditate. If you don't feel natural about it, then keep trying without pushing the river. Your personal river has its own flow, and that will happen eventually. So we're back from the meditation now. Maybe you'll bring your hearts and minds back into the conversation. So at this time, I would love to hear from you. I really deeply appreciate seeing that you're all here this Sunday morning. So what are your experiences, your comments, your observations?
John, I'm going to keep the uh, recording going if that's okay with everybody. If it's not okay, then don't say anything that could be construed as derogatory or harmful. Leon.
Well, John, I sure do appreciate you bringing the importance of rhythm into the forefront here, and uh, particularly in expanding it not only in the micro but in the macro and into the galactic uh, realms. And I've often thought that as humans that we're attuned to a rhythm of four. Not that four is a particularly magic number or anything, but uh, if you're dancing, you dance basically to fourths, eighths, sixteenths, uh, and if you break down our physical movements, whether it's shooting a foul shot or turning a double play, usually there's four elements to the movements that you need to do. And I think that's the way we also think. And that's the way we remember in a good amount of the time. And so when we think about the rhythms keeping us grounded, I think you're right on, John. And that gets us closer to the divine, I think. Thank you.
Oh, me too. To briefly interject, Leon, that's an excellent, excellent reference point, the number four. I'm very fond of the Taoist divination system, the I Ching, and there is a number four very important, counting four sticks at a time. But the idea of four seasons, four suits of cards with playing cards, and with the tarot, four suits, four seasons. Did I say that one? So many times the number four comes back to us. Wonderful contribution.
Yeah, also, Leon, I remember in some meditations, the human body has the ability to exhale longer than inhale, but in the heart math procedure, it's equal in, equal out to the count of maybe four. One, two, three,
Oh,
four, in, out, 1, 2, 3, 4, to help balance the body, whatever balance means in that regard. Someone else,
Wonderful. Who
Frank?
else? Dig deep.
Yeah. Um, Thanks, John. It was really nice. One thing I've learned recently about meditation, if I get into meditation and my mind's going too fast, I switch to a different technique. Uh, I start to become aware of energy in my hands, and I start to feel waves. It might be my heart, blood circulation, but then I bring it up in to my chest. So I'm focusing on that. I'm not focusing on the river of thoughts going through my head. I'm just focusing on the physical, bringing energy into the heart, uh, and becoming aware of the heart and expanding and bringing more in from through the heart and in the lungs, and then expanding out the aura. And that just takes me out of the busyness of my mind if there's too much. And times there is, just can't get past it. So that breaks it up, and then I get more relaxed, feel more expanded, more connected. So, and that
Wonderful.
goes right along with your waves, because I would feel the wave going up and being amplified in the body, using the heart because it is the highest uh, energy source. I mean, you entrain your brain to your heart rhythm, and so that everything goes off of that signal. So, thanks.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So helpful. These waves are all over the place. Science uses them. Science with architecture. They have to know about buildings and what waves of wind and heat and sound are going to do for that or to that building. Around airports, they certainly have to know about the overtone series that musicians know about very well. And those waves are going to be very important. They come and they go. They have an apex and they have a neutral place and a downstroke. All of this is vibration. All of this is vibration.
John, when you're playing the bowls, do they Tibetan bowls, do they have anything to do with the count of four, or how does that add in, into this relevance into this conversation?
That's a very good question. The number 4, to my knowledge, to my limited knowledge, does not occur in the bowls. However, there is a number of 7 where when I stroke the bowl, there are 7 places around the circumference of the bowl where there's going to be a pulse. And the pulse, forgive my vocalizing here, it's going to go something like wow, 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 like that. And there are 7 times, 7 places around the circumference. Now you can say 7 is a mystical number. I don't know. That's where my knowledge falls off. That's a good subject for research for someone. And maybe you can, some of you look that up and see if the number 4 turns up in the making of the bowls or the experience of the acoustical properties of the bowls. Great question. But numerology is all over the place, definitely.
I've been very interested in these advertisements on Facebook for these little metal drums. They have numbers on them,
Yeah.
and they're very healing. I don't know if that's 432 hertz or something, but there's something about it that's very, very calming. And you see this person playing it, and animals come by and they just watch him, cows or farm animals. They're just standing around. They're not cheap. I'd like to get one, but they're not not really very
They,
cheap.
they have the little teeny ones, that are about this big, that big. And what you can do is many of them are designed so that they can sit outside. And when it rains,
Oh yeah,
like-
I see that.
plays a tune, basically, the rain hitting all the different notes on it. It's just, it's, like a wind chime or something. Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful idea.
Jody, I'm
Any-
sure you have something else that you want to add.
I'm sure I have something else. Let me think. When during your meditation, which I really appreciated this morning, we have right now these kind of waves of wind. I've got my windows open and it's whoosh, and then it goes down and whoo, and it goes down. And it was very easy to get to one of my favorite places of meditation is by the ocean. And with the waves of the ocean, it's just, it clears my head, just it's so easy to focus on. And that wind just, all of a sudden changed into an ocean outside my window. It was wonderful. When you were talking about the birth and rebirth, I'm one that goes around and moves all the leaves and the debris back and see what's coming up, because I just want to see what's happening. And last year I planted a lot of strawberries and I had a lot of really happy squirrels and whoever else, birds and whatever, that enjoyed them, for the season. Maybe I enjoyed one. And I thought, well, maybe I won't do that again. I'll buy something else this year to plant in that place. And and I didn't turn over the dirt or anything. Lo and behold, I have right now beautiful, luscious strawberries that have come back from the winter, which usually don't, blooming little strawberries already on them, just huge patches of them. And so it was just kind of like nature was telling me, don't get frustrated, just wait. They just didn't have time to get, big enough and strong enough so that the animals could share them with you, So I'm looking to have a lot of them this year. So it was just, it gave me a lot of joy when I saw them. I said, hey, these didn't die off. And then they're like big now and they're healthy and little pink flowers all over them. And it's just, it is so important to look for those things.
And
Yeah.
and I will say thank you that this whole talk was very peaceful when I needed peace.
Oh,
Yes, we're going to a celebration of life this afternoon. And it's very sad, a young woman in her 30s. She had just gotten engaged. And She and her fiance, it's in Texas where they live now, but they are having two services, one here and one in Texas. And a car came on the wrong side of the road and just smashed into them. The whole family in the car caught on fire, both cars. And
I didn't need to tell them.
yeah, no one tell the whole story. And it's just like, wow, that is so tragic. But her family has made it into something beautiful. You know, they're sad, and now the only person that didn't die was her fiance, and everybody has focused on him. He's almost back to, where he can leave rehab now. But but celebrating her life through pictures and remembrances and all these past few months, it's like it's so beautiful. It's sad that she is not here any longer, but you think of all these people coming with contributions that she has made. And so, yes, this is a very peaceful service to have before we go to that this afternoon. Yeah, thank you. The other thing I thought about is, have you ever seen those science videos or science documentaries where they start out like, here's Earth, and then they go, way through the universe, all the way out in the galaxy, all the way out into space. And they try to show, like by speeding everything up, how long it is where there's nothing before there's something else. And then they do the same thing and they go down deep and they go down in molecular and atomic and everything and show the same thing. Those have always fascinated me because they're basically the same, and you made me think of those videos today, and I'm gonna go look at one again. But that idea of in nature, there are certain numbers of things, that repeat and repeat and repeat, and it's when you focus on those, it is grounding, right? So anyway, thank you. That was a wonderful, I don't want to call it presentation, but a wonderful time with you this morning.
Oh,
Yes.
oh, Jody, your reference to the seashore and the waves reminds me, I have a geophysicist friend who has come to my yoga classes.
Mhm.
And as a geophysicist, he says that the number for the frequency of planet Earth, the number they use is the number 7, because that is the average number of beats of the waves
Oh,
against the shores worldwide. The waves go at about 7 times per minute. And that is the number they use, the number 7.
And I just learned yesterday that that's the number of years that a person needs to be fully fluent in sign language.
yeah. Yeah, 7 is a number you hear a lot. Yeah.
Gloria?
Oh, I was just going to say, John, you reminded me to appreciate the rhythms in my body, my breath rate, my heartbeat. And that's what I want to appreciate today.
Beautiful.
Yeah, John.
I just
Before,
want to say, Jody, we missed you last Sunday. I love it when you come on Sundays, and I miss you when you're not here on Sundays.
Well, thank you. We missed you too. We were ready to be here up until the last minute. And then we, circumstances ensued and we just weren't able to make it. But, we were all ready. I was even put on a clean shirt. So, yeah. But we missed you guys too,
it's
but
all,
thank you.
all in divine order, whoever shows up. Any last thoughts before we close the recorded portion of our session today? I want to thank you, John. I've just gotten away from meditation so much. It's like not like me. It's so unusual. When you were counting, your 15, I came up with 52. So that's, you know, I
Mm.
guess you had some people come on and they automatically put us in a meditative state without us. Um, the Hertz deal, I've been listening to some people talk about the heartbeat of the Earth before the harmonic convergence was like 7.7 Hertz or 7.2 or something like that. After the harmonic convergence, it started going up and up and up and up um, to areas we haven't really witnessed in the past, with the magnetic pulse going down. Two things that didn't haven't made sense. You know, one has led to pole shifts in the past, but not with the other one going the other way. So we're into some interesting times, and there's so much about meditation that I really want to, not need to, but I want to get back into. Um, just really very special stuff. There's one technique, I don't know if you taught me or somebody taught me. It's not the equal in, equal out, Frank, but I think we talked about this, how powerful alternate nostril breathing is. But somehow I came up, I don't know where I read it or I felt it or found out in the meditation, that when you meditate, one of the masters that I was listening to was talking about keeping the tongue at the roof of the mouth for centering energy. When it's not, the energy seems to not be complete, like an electric circuit, right? So by doing that, right behind the front two teeth, draw it back a little bit on the hard palate. It's like a way of continuing that energy. And then I just tried this. If you move your tongue to one tooth, right behind one tooth, and breathe in, you can almost visualize, and if you can't visualize it, then just fake it. But you can almost visualize more air coming in one nostril with one rotation in and out, and then you just slightly move it up a couple of centimeters to the other tooth, right behind the other tooth, and you can feel more air coming in that nostril without doing the pinching, you know. So there's so many different methods. They're astronomical amount of methods. So um, if it's okay with you guys, I'm going to stop the recording, and then we can just kind of talk amongst ourselves without being recorded or having that issue. So hold on a minute.